Welcome to Ask a Lawyer with Christopher J. Zachar at the Zachar Law Firm in Phoenix, Arizona. Chris is a state bar certified specialist in personal injury and wrongful death cases. Fighting for clients' rights and compensation is his passion. Attorney Zachar answers your questions about the law and how it affects you.
Chris, what constitutes a dog bite case?
Well, I mean, the answer to that question is pretty self-explanatory, but when somebody else's dog attacks you, bites you, and causes injury, then you technically have a dog bite case. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a bite. It can be an attack. It requires that it's somebody else's dog, and it requires that injury occur. If you have those two things, then technically you have a dog bite or a dog liability case.
So is the owner covered by normal insurance like renter's insurance or homeowners?
Typically homeowners or insurance or a renter's insurance will cover the liability of a dog owner when their dog causes injury to somebody else. There are exceptions to that. There are some policies which have animal liability exclusions. There are some policies now which exclude liability for certain breeds. There are some policies which actually have animal liability maximums. So even though your insurance might have it might be a $100,000 policy, the limitation for animal liability, say, in the policy could be like $10,000. It's something that we don't know and we'll never know unless and until we actually get a copy of the policy and are involved in the case.
So what damages are recoverable in a dog bite case?
Well, again, in order to have a dog bite case, you have to have sustained some physical injury. If there's physical injury, then generally there are going to be medical expenses. So the medical expenses would be recoverable. Any sort of emotional type damages, psychological type damages, and of course any attendant medical care for those, lost wages, travel expenses, anything else, any other attendant expenses, bandages, medications, anything like that. Those are typically the types of things that are recoverable, not only in a dog bite case, but in pretty much any personal injury claim.
So how soon do I need to bring a case after an incident?
Well, Steve, that's a really good question because it's important for people to understand that the time limitations for bringing a dog bite case in Arizona, and I'm only talking about Arizona because all states are different, is shortened. So in Arizona, the law is this: if another person's dog attacks you or bites you and causes you injury, under Arizona law, the owner of that dog is responsible for the injury. There's very few exceptions. In Arizona, it's called strict liability. But strict liability is a legal concept which is created by statute, and because it's created by statute, you have a 1-year statute of limitations from the date the injury occurs until you actually have to present and settle your claim or file a lawsuit to protect your claim. You can also bring a negligence action against the dog owner. A little bit more difficult. I mean, if you've got a dog that's never done this before, in a negligence action, you actually have to prove that the owner was in some way negligent, knew or should have known the propensity of their dog to do something like this and failed to warn you or failed to protect against that. That's a 2-year statute of limitations. We generally will never wait that long. It's always best to avail yourself of the strict liability laws of the state of Arizona. And again, that's a 1-year statute of limitations from the date the injury occurs until you've got to do something.
So, Chris, let's say my child is injured. Do I hire an attorney for my injured child?
Well, again, it kind of falls back to the question as to do you have a claim that's worth bringing? Sometimes the injuries are severe enough that the answer to that question is evident. Sometimes maybe not so much. But the attorneys who do this here in Phoenix generally offer free consultations. So I would say contact an experienced dog bite attorney, consult, get educated, and then you and the attorney can decide whether it's a claim that's worth pursuing.
Now, let's say I was petting the dog before I was attacked. Can I still bring a claim?
Absolutely. In Arizona, the law is strict liability. That means if somebody else's dog attacks or bites you and causes injury, you have the right to bring a claim. There are only two defenses to a dog bite in Arizona. One is trespassing, which I think is relatively clear. If you're on somebody else's property without invitation, and as a result of that, their dog attacks you or bites you, maybe you got what you asked for. I don't know. Trespassing is a defense, and the other defense is provocation. But we've handled these cases many times before, and things like stepping on a dog's foot, doing something, accidentally poking a dog in the eye. Though, unless you are doing something to prod or intentionally provoke the dog into some sort of a fit of anger that results in an attack or a bite, normal circumstances are not provocations. So, coming back to your question, if you're just petting somebody else's dog, that's certainly not provocation for a domesticated animal. If under those circumstances you are attacked or you are bitten and sustain injury, you absolutely have the right to bring a claim.
So how do I know if it's worthwhile to take legal action?
Typically the more severe the injury, the more worthwhile it probably is. It's if you've never been through this before, you really need to look for an attorney here in Phoenix who's experienced in handling dog bite or animal liability cases. Almost all attorneys who do this type of work will provide free consultations, so it doesn't cost you anything to call them and talk to them and see if you actually have a case. And that's my suggestion for pretty much everybody for every case. If you're not certain, then call an attorney who does this sort of stuff. You can find us online. Call us up, talk to us. It's not going to cost you anything. Get educated, and then you can make the decision as to whether you think that you've got a case and whether your attorney thinks you have a case.
How long will it take to resolve my dog bite claim?
Again, good question. No specific answer. All claims are different. Dog bite or any other sort of personal injury claim, they're all different. And they all really depend upon three main circumstances, and that's the nature, the extent, and the duration of the injury. Nature, what sort of injury is it, i.e. what part of your body was bit? Extent, how bad is it? Is it going to heal on its own? Do you need medical care? Do you need rabies shots? Do you need surgery? Do you need plastic surgery to help repair or alleviate scarring? And then the last question is duration. How long does it last? How long is that medical care going to take? How long are you going to have the injury or evidence of the injury? As each case is different, there's no universal answer as to how long it will take. It really depends upon those three things: nature, extent, and duration of the injury. And that's something that certainly your experienced attorney who's helping you can help guide you with and determine the right time to present your claim.
And I'm just curious, what information should I collect, in case I ever get bit by a dog?
Well, the best information that you can provide us if something like this has happened is obviously the name of the owner of the dog, the address of the owner of the dog. If animal control was called, an animal control report number for the incident, and then information regarding where you've been for medical care. If we have, and obviously pictures, take pictures when it happens and continuing thereon during the healing process. But if we have those materials in a dog bite case, then we typically have what we need to get started and to complete an investigation and to do everything we need to do for you.
Thanks for listening to Ask a Lawyer with Christopher J. Zachar at the Zachar Law Firm in Phoenix, Arizona. Join us next time as Chris answers your questions about the law and how it affects you.